U.S. economy adding 151,000 jobs. That is an increase from January's report. However, the unemployment rate increase, it rose to 4.1%. That is a 0.1% increase from just last month. So what do these numbers tell us? We're going to talk about that. Employment trending up in healthcare. That's one of the things we're learning. Also trending up among financial activities, transportation, and warehousing. Also, social assistance. Federal government employee, of course, that is down right now. Uncertainty and layoff concerns are also increasing among policy shifts from the Trump administration. That's what we know so far. Let's bring in Jessica Kriegel. She is a workplace culture expert that is, at Fortune 500 companies. Also with us this morning is Doug Flynn, financial expert. He is partner and co-founder of Flynn Zito Capital Management. To both of you, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us. Let's look at these numbers a bit closer here. Jessica, I want to start with you. I want to break down what this new report is showing and what exactly all these numbers mean. What sectors are you seeing the most growth and optimism?
Well, we were not surprised by what we've seen this morning. It was what everyone pretty much expected. Perhaps the layperson would be surprised because they've seen the headlines about the federal government. They've seen the layoffs in the private sector. And so they were expecting more of a splashy report. What's true is that this data is collected early in the month in a one-week period that includes the 12th of the month. And so therefore it was before a lot of the Doge activity. And so we're really going to see these headlines play out in the jobs report in the next coming months. There is, as you mentioned, a lot of uncertainty. One of the numbers that I'm particularly interested in this week's report is the people working part-time for economic reasons jumped 460,000 to 4.9 million. That's perhaps a trend that we want to keep an eye out. It can be an early indicator of bad news to come.
That's very interesting. Doug, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, there's definitely hiring hesitancy going on in speaking to small business owners, and even larger businesses are just taking more of a wait and see approach because there is a lot of uncertainty. And look, the tariffs in the long run, if they're able to negotiate a better deal, that might be a good long-term benefit to the economy. But in the short run, that's causing a lot of uncertainty. It's causing the markets to kind of shake this out and try to come to terms with what might be happening in the short run. There's some short-term disruption. That's what's going on. It's affecting the markets and also people's personal economy. That's what's going on too because of that uncertainty.
You know, it's very interesting. We're hearing so much about especially federal workers losing jobs amid the cuts in employment and trying to reduce wasteful spending. There is a number, though, that I want both of you to kind of react to. We know that according to the Labor Department, there are 7.6 million job openings right now. So how do you interpret that juxtaposed against what these new jobs numbers are that we're getting this morning? Jessica, I'll start with you on that.
Yeah, I'll jump in. It has to do with the skills gap that exists. There can be job openings and there can be people looking for jobs, but those people's skills don't necessarily match the skills necessary for the opening that exist. And so we see that across multiple sectors, and that's something that needs to be addressed. What I'm doing as a business right now in response to the tariffs, as Doug mentioned, the news and headlines that seem to continuously be changing and the uncertainty that exists, is I'm scenario planning. A lot of our clients at Culture Partners are spending time looking at what do we think will happen in the future, what strategy do we have for that future, and what are some satellite strategies that we may want to prepare waiting in the wings just in case something unexpected happens. That scenario planning is going to allow you to have a more adaptive culture and respond to whatever happens.
And Jessica, you bring up a very important point that we want our viewers to understand, because there could be a lot of opportunity for new job skills, new job training. You know, Doug, I want to go to you on this. There's so many contributing factors: Doge cuts, consumer confidence dropping, the president's new tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico. The president also just announced a new shipbuilding office in the White House, the shipbuilding office specifically or primarily focused on building military ships. We know, according to our numbers and looking at the job pool, there are not a lot of skilled people who are prepared to go into that industry. So what needs to happen to fill in that gap that we have of open job positions, but then also people who are looking for jobs and may not be prepared for some of those skilled roles?
You're also going to have the same situation with the trillions of dollars that's being invested that they've announced from the tech companies and all the AI factory building, and Apple $500 billion. All these different companies are investing all of this money back into the U.S. You need to find the skills and get the skills to do that. I think that's part of the plan, of course, but all of this does take time, and that's the problem. The problem is you might have a short-term disruption as they begin to trim some of these jobs and other firms are not hiring, but it may take time to not only bring all of these businesses and factories and workers on. So you're going to have a gap there, and that it can be the issue in the short run. And I think he's alluding to it in saying that there might be some short-term pain for a long-term benefit, but as an economy and as people don't like to suffer short-term pain, no matter how short it is. But taking long view is really what has to happen here, and it's going to take a whole country effort to really get everybody ready for these types of jobs: shipbuilding, AI, tech, whatever it is.
Yes, a lot of new opportunity coming, like you said. Well, just yesterday, President Trump signed an executive order at the request of U.S. automakers, giving them a 30-day exemption for cars and parts coming from and going to Canada and Mexico. That order also applying to all goods that fall under the USMCA, our trade agreement with Canada and Mexico. Those goods include fruits, vegetables, clothes, and certain chemicals used in manufacturing. So, Doug, what does this mean for the near future? Because we know we are already seeing a lot of those automakers bringing their plants back to the United States. Is that going to help fill this gap?
It may. I mean, as to Mexico, the USMCA is about 50% of the goods. With Canada, it's about 38% of the goods. So, but we're all suffering from tariff whiplash, to be honest with you, because it's on again, off again, on again, off again, on again, off again. And that's what's causing some of the disruption. It's very hard to make any kind of decisions longer term with these starts and stops that are going on. So there can be some short term, but quite honestly, the market's acting like we just don't believe the president anymore with whatever he's saying today. It may change very well tomorrow. The big day coming up is April 2nd. That's when the whole report comes out with all the countries, just how much each of them are sort of penalizing us. And that's really the day that I'm looking to see what's going to happen for a longer term situation.
Well, it looks like both of you are using your expertise this morning and encouraging us to look for that date and the important information we get from that in the future. So, Jessica, Doug, thank you both for your insight this morning. Very, very good information. Appreciate your time. Joe?
All right, now for another dose of Doge. 1 week after billionaire Elon Musk spoke